This is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I tell you, we needed that one. Welcome in. We are live here on this Tuesday. Great to be with you guys. Jam-packed show for you on today on A to Z. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On ATL. Of course, I'm at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. Give us that thumbs up as we continue to grow almost 3,000 subscribers. Certainly appreciate all the love and support you guys give Locked On Sports Atlanta and the entire network here. We have a lot to get to. Boy, do I have to get into Live Golf again and the PGA. I honestly cannot believe that we're still dealing with this stuff, but we'll get there. Plus, the AP Top 25 is out. We didn't get to that yesterday. We'll dive into it today with some predictions that are likely to go wrong. But we'll have some fun with the AP Top 25 before the end of the show. Of course, Shovels of Wisdom and a whole lot more. Thanks for joining us here on A to Z. We start today with the Atlanta Braves because they got a big win last night. And boy, did they need it. I mean, it was one of those games and one of those situations where it could have gone horribly wrong. It could have absolutely gone sideways. And you're looking at a situation where going from 5.5 to 6.5 in the first game of this series and trying to win the final 3 games in a row, especially with DeGrom and Scherzer going, seems insurmountable for the Braves. If this is a short playoff series, definitively, you don't have a choice but to beat the other guys who aren't Scherzer and DeGrom, because chances are you're not going to beat Scherzer and DeGrom. Not many do. So this was a huge one to get last night, and the rain certainly threw a wrench into the works. That was not in the plans at all. And give some credit to my boy, Spencer Strider. Give some credit to this young man who is as resilient as they come already at his young age in the league, was able to go through 2 innings, sat for an hour in the rain delay, where most young pitchers, especially ones that were, quote, protecting, would have been yanked from the game, went to the bullpen and everything else. Strider, according to reports, threw a simulated inning during the rain delay in the ballpark, whatever it was, and was back on the mound when play resumed. Now, he only lasted 5 innings, which is fine because, again, you're not really, concerned with his depth in the game at that point. If he got you through 5, as far as the rain delay and everything else, then you're in a really good spot. I mean, that to me, more than anything, was very telling about the sort of moxie that this kid has and the way he approaches the game and the mentality and everything else. And I thought it was just really critical that he'd come out after that. He only threw 87 pitches to 5 innings, so clearly he could have had one more inning in him, if not more than that. And we know that some of Strider's issues have been his economy. When he throws a lot of extra pitches that doesn't necessarily need to, but that's okay. Like I said repeatedly, that'll come in time. But the offense did their job the rest of the way. They didn't put any pressure on the bullpen. They made it easy on him. So Strider gets the victory, and the Braves get a big 13-1 win. Now, a couple other takeaways from this game that I think are worthwhile. Strider's post-game comments to me were smart. I enjoyed the way he went after the Mets after he got banged around last time. To me, I think that was fun for me. It's great to see a young kid with that much confidence be able to do that to one of the best teams in baseball and have no problem about saying it and then going out there and backing that up. But he showed a little maturity. I'll tell you about that in a second. First, a word from my friends at betonline.net, the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your sports betting needs. Find your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league. That's Major League Baseball. Got NFL preseason coming up. It's here, actually. NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, podcasts, they've got you covered with all of it. Head to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to learn more about the action that is happening. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, back to Strider here. after the game, where he talked last time about how he thought the Mets got a little bit lucky in his last outing against him, only lasted 2 2/3, shortest outing of his career as a starter. And Strider said, quote, "Talk the talk was not exactly what I was trying to convey after the game. I need my chamomile tea. And I didn't have it in the clubhouse in New York. I was frustrated. They're a pesky team. They grind out at bats. They don't strike out, don't swing and miss. And that's kind of how I pitch. They're the opposite of me. I knew it. I didn't make an adjustment last week. I chalked that up to them." Like, that's a really measured response and a smart one in understanding the opponent that he's facing. The acknowledgement of who he's facing and how hard they are to get out and that you have to make adjustments against them, I think is really, really smart from Strider. I think it's really, really a kid who is beyond his years in that sense, because he knows that he's a guy that is going to be called upon to make big starts down the stretch here. And he was really smart in the way he went out there. He said he adjusted. He leaned into it a little bit. I didn't expect to strike out a lot of guys, just wanted to get ahead, fill up the zone, and let them hit the ball. And he did that, and he did it well enough, all things considered, through a rain delay, to put his team in a great position to win a baseball game. Look, it's great when you score 5 runs before the 5th inning. That certainly helps. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room, if you will. So I think that, makes it a lot easier to send Strider back out there. Or, I don't know, they hit on all cylinders last night. It was super important. The other big takeaway from the game, more than anything, is Ronald Acuña. And how much I remember one radio host in this town not too long ago saying Acuña was a, quote, hole in the lineup. Yeah, hole in the lineup. There's a hole in your head, bro. Now I get it. Look, the last 25 games leading up to the All-Star break, Acuña was stinking up the joint. Okay? He was batting .226. He had an OBP at .317. His OPS was .617. That's bad. He had just 2 home runs. He struck out 25 times in those 25 games and only drove in 6 runs. Since the All-Star break, Ronald Acuña Jr., for those who thought he was a hole in the lineup, is batting .314. He's got a .372 OBP. That's 60 points he raised his on-base percentage since the All-Star break. He's at 60 points higher than what he was in the 25 games leading up to it. He's got an .826 OPS. He still has only 2 home runs, but he's only struck out 16 times, and he's driven in, I think, 12 runs. Starting to come around. Now, he's not hitting the ball out of the ballpark like we all expect him to, and that is why people say, oh, he's off, because he's got unreal power, but he's not, knocking the ball out of the park. So he's doing so many other things. He's stealing bases. He's just making plays not a lot of other people can make. He was fantastic last night offensively. Let's hope it keeps going in the rest of the series, because they'll need his bat as much as they'll need his glove and everything else. Now, with momentum being only as good as your next day's starting pitcher, not the guy you want going today, in my opinion, in Charlie Morton, but he's going to have a big start. In his 2 previous starts against the Mets, he gave up 5 runs in both of those starts. Last time out, he got banged around by him. You're going to need a big-time start from Charlie Morton today. You're going to need a big-time start from Charlie Morton and a way for him to keep his team in the game. Now, on the flip side, Taijuan Walker starts for the Mets. The Braves banged him around last time. He didn't even get out of the first inning. He gave up 8 runs. So, it's one of those things where both of these pitchers are looking for a little redemption today. And Taijuan Walker's been really consistent. Charlie Morton has been, inconsistent. If you go back to his last 5 starts, ready? He gave up 5 runs, no runs. 5 runs, no runs, and 5 runs, which was the last start against the Mets. Really, bro? Come on. We need a little bit more consistency out of there. A little up and down. So Morton is going to have his best stuff tonight. And let's see what happens, because we know this. If they take tomorrow night, they're in great position to take 3 out of 4 if they can get one from Scherzer and DeGrom. Getting one from Scherzer and DeGrom feels big. Feels very, very big. So taking the first 2 in this series would be huge. But the momentum would swing back in the Mets' favor greatly if the Mets can win tonight and then have Scherzer and DeGrom looking to take 3 out of 4. All right, coming up next, this is not only an act of desperation, but it's also one of the most unrelatable acts of desperation I've seen in quite some time. That's next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports. Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On ATL. I'm at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Coming up, we'll have Shovels of Wisdom as well. Some fun with the AP Top 25. Some predictions, I think, of teams that were overranked, underranked, who's going to get into the top 3 first, who's going to get into the top 10 first, who's going to crack the top 25 that's not there yet, who's going to fall out of the top 25. We'll have a lot of fun with that coming up here in just a few minutes. But I have to return to the golf discussion. Boy, I never thought that I'd discuss golf this much. And this is one of the best, and this is what the PGA doesn't understand. This is one of the best things for the sport of golf. Like, forget controversy of, a drop that broke the rules or controversy of guys waiting for guys with big leads in a tournament to blow up and fail to talk about golf a little bit. You've got like legitimate golf stuff to talk about on a routine basis. And to me, I still can't believe the PGA isn't embracing all of this. What the PGA is doing right now is completely desperate. So they have this second playoff event in the FedEx Cup playoff, the Bmw Championship in Wilmington, Delaware, that starts on Thursday. According to ESPN and ESPN.com, Tiger Woods, the godfather of modern golf, is scheduled to meet with several of the top golfers in the world in an effort to rally support around the PGA. Tiger Woods is the greatest golfer probably ever. Like, he's the most dominant golfer. Jack won more majors, but Jack didn't blow away the field the way Tiger did for the better part of a decade, if not longer. Tiger Woods is the most influential, or one of the most influential athletes in American history. The fact that the PGA, and I know, I shouldn't say I know, I got a gut feeling this wasn't Tiger Woods going, hey, I want to rally these guys together and save the PGA. This was the PGA and Jay Monahan asking Tiger Woods, please save our ass. Please, we need you. Here's what they don't understand. Tiger Woods doesn't get the same treatment as everybody else. Tiger Woods is different. Tiger Woods doesn't have to worry about things that regular golfers have to worry about. Hell, Tiger Woods doesn't have to worry about the things that Rory has to worry about, that JT has to worry about, that Jordan Spieth has to worry about. Those guys are multi-time major winners. And they are not the same as Tiger. And they'll never be the same as Tiger. They'll be memorable. They could even be historical. But they ain't Tiger. And they don't have what Tiger has. And they never will. And the fact that the PGA doesn't understand this, to me, is laughable. What's more laughable is that Tiger Woods doesn't understand it. Here's the quote from him. Some of these players, the ones who defected to live, may not ever get a chance to play in a major championship. That's a possibility. We don't know that for sure yet. It's up to the major championship bodies to make that determination, but that's a possibility. That some players will never ever get a chance to play in a major championship, never get a chance to experience this right here, walk down the fairways at Augusta National. To me, I just don't understand it. Of course you don't, Tiger. You didn't have any other choice. You only came up through one path. There was no other option for you. You took the option everybody else did. You, for lack of a better term, smashed the color barrier in golf. Like, you're completely different. You're not like everybody else. And don't compare yourself to everybody else. You don't get to be like everybody else. I mean, Tiger has no relation to current players today at all. Not only from a playing standpoint, how good he was, but it's just completely different. This is like Elon Musk walking into a mom and pop hardware store and trying to explain to them how to build their business. He did it in a completely different way. It's not the same thing. I'll tell you what else this isn't. It's not even close to something else. But first, a word from our friends at Built Bar. From the people who invented healthy and tasty comes the latest gift to your taste buds. If you haven't tried the amazing coconut brownie Built chunk bar, it's fantastic. But guess what? Your friends at Built have given that coconut brownie chunk bar the Puffs treatment. You know the Puffs I've told you about. This protein-infused marshmallowy goodness. It is delicious. Right now, they are building coconut brownie chunk Puff bars, and they are outstanding. Good for you. Low calorie, low sugar, high in protein, and delicious. But only here for a limited time. You get that coconut brownie chunk Built bar in a deliciously chewy marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. It's like a fluffy cloud of coconut brownie goodness. All protein bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently, provides tons of health benefits. You can eat something that tastes good and is good for you. I love Built bars, as a post-meal snack or even when it's late at night and I want something to fill my stomach but don't want to feel like too crazy full and know that it's healthy for me. I get my Built bar or my coconut brownie Built Puffs bar. Go to Built.com right now. Use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15. So while this Tiger Woods, comparison that we're doing is going on, this is not the same thing as like the Negro Leagues to Major League Baseball. This isn't even the same like the XFL, the AAF, the USFL to the NFL. Those were considered inferior to the main product. The Negro League was inferior to Major League Baseball. The USFL is inferior to the NFL. That's not what this is. This is Coke versus Pepsi. This is McDonald's versus Burger King. This is Chick-fil-A versus Zaxby's, whatever the hell you want to say. These are two equally based, equally financed organizations, and one is coming to the party later and going, I want to compete with you. And that's totally fair. Coke was here before Pepsi. McDonald's was here before Burger King. I don't know who got here first, Chick-fil-A or Zaxby's. But anyway, you get the point. PGA was here. Live Golf's coming in. And they're giving players options. They are creating competition. This is good. It's not bad. What's bad is the PGA doesn't get why all their golfers are leaving. They're leaving because they get a better deal. Because it's easier for them. They make more money. They have to work less. Who in America doesn't want to make more to work less? Hello. I mean, it should, instead of changing, and I've said this repeatedly and I can't hammer it home enough, instead of the PGA changing their business format and going, well, we've done this way for hundreds of years now, and PGA is the supreme allied force in golf, and you'll do it our way. That's the stance they're taking instead of going, okay, guys, how do we shift? How do we pivot? It's the newspaper industry versus the internet. Well, we've had newspapers here since 1815, and it's been what everybody has chosen. Be damned, that internet thing. Where are newspapers now? Good luck finding one. It's just ridiculous. And the idea that, and one golfer apparently who's going to this meeting is the one who sort of leaked all this to the press. But it says the player who was invited to the meeting told ESPN, quote, it's a meeting to get the top 20 players in the world on the same page, how we can continue to make the PGA Tour the best product of professional golf. BS. It ain't a meeting to get you on the same page. It's begging you not to leave and using the most famous golfer in the world to do it on the same page. Straw poll, how many of you guys think you're going to leave? That's how this meeting starts. Straw poll, who's been contacted by Live in the Room? What'd they tell you? This isn't a strategy session. This is a keep your fingers in the dam. This is a how do we get off the Titanic before it sinks? That's all this is. It's a joke. The PGA should be embarrassed, and they're getting embarrassed because they're allowing themselves to be embarrassed. It's laughable. I hope Liv continues to poach more. I'm sorry, I do. This isn't even about like a wrestling heel that everybody loves. The PGA needs to pivot and adjust, adapt or die. All right, coming up next, the AP Top 25 is out. We'll have some fun with some predictions that likely could go wrong about the AP Top 25. That's next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked. Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Sports Atlanta. That's us on Twitter at Locked On ATL. I'm at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Final segment of the show here on Tuesday, and we will relax and woosah. We're going to have a little fun here with the AP Top 25. But first, we got to hand out a shovel of wisdom.
Brace yourselves, because it's time for the shovel of wisdom.
Well, you know how we do it every day. We like to set somebody straight, whack them right upside the head with a shovel, metaphorical shovel, if you will, for saying we're doing something stupid. And you can do so on my Twitter account at Mark Zinno. Just use the hashtag shovel of wisdom. And today my shovel goes to Fernando Tatis Sr. You probably know by now, Fernando Tatis Jr. been suspended by Major League Baseball, 80-game suspension after testing positive for clostebol. Clostebol, however you pronounce it, which is a banned substance. And no matter what happens, there's only one right stance to take when you are a professional athlete and you come up hot on a performance-enhancing drug test. There's only one stance to take. I'm sorry. Period. End sentence. Shut up and move on. That's it. Because in reality, no one really cares anymore, and we're not surprised that people do this stuff. That said, genuinely on the level, what happened to Fernando Tatis Jr. seems like it could happen, and it could be a thing. But that doesn't excuse what it doesn't get you out of the positive test. So the long story short is that apparently Fernando Tatis Jr. Got ringworm on the side of his neck, and the photo of this was previously posted on his mother's Instagram page, and he used Trophabol to treat the ringworm. This medication, by the way, not sold in the United States, is a spray that is used to treat skin conditions, scars, burns. Okay. The label lists Clostebol on it, an anabolic steroid, the one that he tested positive for. So, one, if you're going to use drugs that are not from America, and you have access to some of the best medical people in the world as a professional athlete, you might want to hand them over the bottle and go, can I use this? Send them a screenshot, FaceTime them, Google Meet them, Zoom call, I don't care. Go, hey, you see this? Is this good for me to use? Where'd you get it? Oh, I don't know, Mexico. Yeah, let's go with no. Let's just start with no. Let's not use drugs from Mexico. The problem is that other players have been suspended. Exact same thing. Clostebol, a derivative of testosterone, is an anabolic steroid that's been banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA. D. Gordon and Freddie Galvis have previously been suspended for testing positive for this substance by MLB since the start of its drug testing program in 2003. So you've had other players who have tested positive for the same thing under the same guise that they didn't do it because allegedly it doesn't even help you get strong in that way. It's not a performance enhancer. It's not going to. Don't do this, Fernando Tatis Sr. Don't try and cover up bad decisions with worse excuses. Let it die. In 5 years, if Fernando Tatis is half the ball player you're claiming that he is, this will all be water under the bridge. If he never tests positive again the rest of his career, people will forget about it. The numbers will do the talking. You don't need to do any more of it. I mean, stop trying to excuse your way out of a bad decision. It never goes well. All right, before we get to the AP Top 25 here, first a word from our friends at Coffee AM, the best small batch coffee roaster in America. You guys hear me tell you about them every single day. Why? Because their coffee is amazing. It's how I start my morning. I get their K-Cups, pop them right in my Keurig, get myself some coffee from Kenya, Sumatra, Brazil, Tanzania, wherever you can think of. They get coffees from around the world, and they're so fresh because they're roasted and shipped in the same day or close to it. Only roast current crop specialty grade coffees, organic, fair trade, direct trade, It's all coming to you from Coffee AM. You get tons of flavors, espressos, blends, flavored coffees, gourmet teas, and more locally roasted right here in your backyard. Go to coffeeam.com/locked on today. Take a look at their full menu of coffees, teas, and gift sets. That's coffeeam.com/locked on. Use the promo code locked on at checkout to get 15% off your first order of any coffees, teas, and gift sets at Coffee AM, the best small batch coffee roaster in America. All right, the AP Top 25 is out. Now, I didn't even address the Coaches Poll because it's silly and it's done, but I'll talk about the AP Top 25. In case any shockers here, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, 1, 2, and 3. Not surprised. You could argue that Georgia deserves to be higher as the defending national champ, but whatever. I mean, any combination of those three being in the top 3 should surprise nobody. Rounding out the top 10, Clemson at 4, Notre Dame at 5, A&M at 6, Utah at 7, Michigan at 8, Oklahoma at 9, and Baylor at 10. Okay, so let's look at this and dissect this a little bit. Let's look at the most overranked team. And there are actually more than one of them. But to me, the most overranked team is Notre Dame. Notre Dame is not going to be a top 5 team in the nation. It's all said and done. It shouldn't be a top 5 team now. They transitioned to head coach. They transitioned to quarterback. They lost a bunch of players. I don't know how much better they got, but to label them the 5th best team in the nation right now is not, I think, where they should be. I think A&M is a little bit overrated. Granted, they're going to be really, really good, but years of sort of falling short of expectation makes them to be a little bit overranked. And I think USC, who, by the way, came in at 14, is overrated. And I love the hell out of Lincoln Riley. And I think he's going to have a great year. I think they could be a 9 or 10 win team easily. But given what they've had in the last couple of years and how empty the cupboard was, I know they got some major transfers to the transfer portal. 14 seems a little bit high. Most underranked team in the top 25, Arkansas at 19. They're better than people think. They're going to be scary good in the trenches. They are going to push some people around. This Arkansas team isn't going anywhere. Sam Pittman has got them headed in the right direction, and this is a team that's going to be hanging around in the top 12 for a better part of this season. Now, again, they play in a super, 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 super tough division in a super, super, super tough conference. So their schedule isn't going to be easy, and I understand why people think that they could lose a bunch of games, but I have a ton of faith in Sam Pittman and Arkansas, and they should start out hot. They're going to win their first 3 games fairly handily. They get A&M and Alabama at home in back-to-back weeks. Win one of those 2, and chances are they finish the season at worst 10-2. At worst. If they can take one from Alabama or A&M, the only real tough opponent they got left is Ole Miss, and they get them home. They have an incredibly favorable schedule this year. The road opponents this year are Mississippi State, BYU, Auburn, and Missouri. LSU and Ole Miss in the back end of November could be tough, but this is a very, very favorable schedule for Sam Pittman and the Razorbacks. Let's move on here. First team that's not in the top 3 to crack the top 3, Utah, coming in at number 7. This is another team. They're going to win their first game of the year against Florida, and they're going to shoot straight up boards, man. I know Clemson is right there, going to be knocking on the doorstep as well, but they're not going to play the right caliber of opponents that Utah is. And I think Utah, if somebody in the top 3 falters, Utah is going to be the one to step in. First team to crack the top 10. It's not in the top 10. Oregon at number 11. Granted, they don't have far to go, but the problem for Oregon is that they're going to lose their first game of the year to Georgia. So they're going to fall down a little bit, and that to me is a little bit, I don't know, disconcerting. Now, you can make an argument for Oklahoma State to do it, and if Southern Cal wins their first 3 or 4 games, they could crack the top 10, especially when you're going to see other teams falter. I think there'll be a lot of public love for Southern Cal. First team to fall out of the top 25, currently ranked in the top 25, Wake Forest at 22. And it's not because they're just at 22. It's because Sam Hartman is out indefinitely. Their quarterback that made their offense go, that allowed them to put up 55 points a game, is going to miss who knows, an undisclosed amount of time at this point in time. Wake Forest could have a bumpy road, especially, Cincinnati's not going to get dinged for losing to Arkansas in week 1, and Houston and BYU should win their early games. Wake Forest may lose, may get pushed out. If they lose badly and lose ugly without Hartman, it's going to be a situation where we're going to look at them sideways a little bit. And then finally, first team out of the top 25 to get in, LSU, Brian Kelly. I'm telling you, the voters in this are going to lust for Brian Kelly. If he has a couple of good games early, they are going to lust for him to be in the top 25 very, very quickly. And again, they have a fairly winnable schedule in the first 4 or 5 weeks. Home versus Florida State, they get Southern, they get Mississippi State, New Mexico, and then at Auburn. If they start out 4-0, if they beat Mississippi State, if they start out 3-0, they'll be in the top. All right, that'll do it for us here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Check out all of the shows on Locked On Sports Network. Thanks for making A to Z your first listen. Make Hitting Harder, John Chuckery your next listen right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. You guys have a wonderful Tuesday. Back tomorrow. Don't take a crap, anybody. See ya.